is called as a L2 cache. Expected amount of L2 cache memory size, it will be going to start with 512 KB to maximum up to 1 MB. This is L2 cache. L3 cache, second or third cache memory pool is L3 cache. The cache which is located L3 cache on the processor. Second or like third cache memory pool. L3 cache also, the cache which is located on the processor is called as a L3 cache. Expected amount of L3 cache memory size is 1 MB to maximum 8 MB in normal computers. I am not talking about high-end configuration computers. Okay, I hope you guys are understood cache memory. In this session, what we understood, primary storage devices is furtherly classified into RAM. RAM is furtherly divided into two types. Number one is static RAM, number two is dynamic RAM. Up to now we discussed about dynamic RAM and static RAM. RAM is over. Second type of primary storage is ROM. What was that? ROM. Just go through with ROM. ROM stands for read-only memory. What is this ROM? ROM is a collection of circuits, or is ROM is integrated with many circuits. ROM is integrated circuits that are used to permanently store, startup or boot up instructions or other critical information. ROM is a collection of many circuits. Under that, one of the circuit is BIOS chip, or is many circuits. We don't have any particular location for ROM on computer motherboard. ROM is a collection of many circuits, so that reason ROM is generally called as a integrated circuits that are used to permanently store, startup or boot up instructions. What is the general meaning of startup or boot up instructions? Just go through with example to understand this word. As a user, I would like to start my computer. Whenever I start up my computer will be going to perform some sequencing boot up steps. Those boot up steps is nothing but startup steps, or as boot up steps. This startup or boot up steps of particular computer will be written by manufacturer. Each computer manufacturer will be going to write or store the computer or server startup or boot up instructions in ROM location. ROM is nothing but collection of many circuits. Those circuit storage capacity is used to write or store computer startup or boot up instructions. Whenever we try to restart computer will be going to boot up by performing sequential startup settings. Those startup settings are generally called as a booting order. The booting order steps will be going to stored in ROM location. It is a collection of many circuits. Moreover, this ROM memory is used to store critical information. That critical information is nothing but computer complementary information, that is nothing but BIOS information, critical information. In current generation laptops or desktops, we are using type of ROM. The type of ROM is EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. EEPROM type of ROM we are using latest type of computers. Those are laptops or desktops. Before that we were used EPROM, erasable programmable read-only memory. Before EPROM we were used PROM, PR programmable read-only memory. But latest type of brand new laptops and desktops, we are using one special type of ROM. That ROM is EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. What is this electrically erasable programmable read-only memory? Earlier we discussed, right? ROM is collection of many circuits that are used to permanently store, startup or boot up instructions of computer and other critical information. Critical information is nothing but BIOS or computer complementary information. For example, in my computer I would like to change some modifications, especially I would like to change first boot priority. Why I need to change first boot priority? For example, I would like to install operating system in this computer. In order to install operating system in this computer by using bootable CD or bootable DVD or bootable pen drive, we need to change first boot priority. By default setting of first boot priority of computer is CD-ROM. I would like to install OS in my computer by using bootable pen drive. In order to install operating system by using bootable pen drive in this computer, first I need to access computer BIOS. Moreover, I need to change first boot priority of this computer CD or DVD ROM to USB HDD. Whenever I try to make some modifications in computer BIOS, those modifications will be going to affected by restarting computer. How many of you modified computer BIOS? I hope everybody nowadays, right? For example, in order to access BIOS, first I need to start my computer. During the boot up, I need to press any shortcut key. It might be function key F2, function key F8, function key F2, F10, or else it depends on manufacturer of particular computer. It depends on type of model. We have to use different shortcut keys for HP laptops, desktop, HP laptops or desktops, Dell laptops or desktops, or some other manufacturing laptops and computers. Based on shortcuts, we have to access computer BIOS. If I access computer BIOS, over there I can able to change the first boot priority CD-ROM to USB HDD. In USB HDD, I change it, for example, first boot priority CD or DVD-ROM to USB HDD. Over there, to save those modifications, I need to press F10. By pressing F10, computer screen will be going to prompt one message to save these modifications, type Y. Type Y letter and click on enter. Computer immediately restarted. Means what actually I am doing, I am making some modifications in computer BIOS. That is nothing but complementary information. If we try to make some modifications in computer BIOS, we have to restart the computer. Computer doesn't require power to make modifications in computer BIOS. So that reason this ROM type memory is generally called as a flash memory, or else ROM memory is generally called as a non-volatile memory. If we try to make any modifications in computer ROM by accessing BIOS or else by making system settings, computer doesn't require power. Moreover, to change this make effect, computer need to restart. So that reason ROM type memory is generally called as a non-volatile memory. What about RAM, random access memory? It is a volatile memory. Power is required to store the data. Coming to ROM, power is not required to make some modifications or save modifications in computer ROM. Okay, this is non-volatile memory. What is this BIOS? Basic input output system. This session to be continued tomorrow and day after tomorrow also, same time. Okay, I hope you guys are understood today's session, right? As per today's session, what we discussed, primary storage devices. Primary storage is furtherly classified into RAM and ROM. RAM furtherly divided into two types, static RAM and dynamic RAM. Okay, I hope you guys are understood basic computer hardware part 2 session, right? This is part 2 session. Yesterday we discussed basic hardware components and functionality part 1. Tomorrow same time we will going to discuss part 3 or session 3. The session to be continued tomorrow. Okay, and tomorrow's session we have to talk about BIOS. Okay, BIOS. What is BIOS? What is the importance of BIOS? We will discuss tomorrow's session. I hope you guys are understood today's session. The session is session 2. This is session 2 from basic computer hardware. Okay, and thank you for watching the session, and see you tomorrow. Have a great day. See you. Bye bye. Hi everyone, welcome to Google IT Support Certification course. In this session we will going to discuss Basic Computer Hardware Part 3. As per previous sessions, we discussed about computer and we discussed basic hardware components of computers. As per previous sessions, we discussed some components from computers and functionality. Those components are processor and primary storage devices. Yesterday's session we discussed primary storage devices. Primary storage is furtherly classified into two types: RAM, random access memory, and ROM, read-only memory. RAM is furtherly divided into two types. Number 1, static RAM. Number 2, dynamic RAM. As per today's session, we have to talk about ROM. Yesterday we discussed a little bit about ROM. ROM is integrated circuits that are used to store computer boot up or startup instructions and other critical information. Current generation computers such as laptops or desktops, we are using one type of ROM. That ROM is EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. This is yesterday's session. Earlier we discussed ROM is collection of many circuits which are used to store computer boot up or startup instructions. To store computer boot up or startup instructions and other critical information. Right. What was that critical information? Critical information is nothing but computer complementary document, is known as a BIOS. Let's see the roles and responsibilities of BIOS. Look at screen. BIOS. BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System. BIOS is a chip. It is a chip which is located on computer motherboard. What is the use of BIOS? What is the importance of BIOS chip on computer motherboard? Let's see BIOS roles and responsibilities. BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System. It is responsible to perform post. During the boot up of computer, BIOS will be going to perform post. Post stands for power on self test. Whenever user from computer try to restart that computer will be going to computer with BIOS chip will be going to perform one task. The task is post, power on self test. Power on self test is nothing but whether the power is properly supplying to the number of components and devices in the computer is called as a post. BIOS chip is responsible to perform one task. The task is performing post, power on self test during the computer boot up. And BIOS is responsible to perform one more task. The task is recognizing the hardware devices. For example, desktop. Desktop will be going to work with many physical devices such as keyboard, mouse, printer, scanner, or some other devices. Whenever computer will be going to start it, during the boot up of computer, during the startup of computer, number of connected physical devices will be going to recognize with compatible drivers packed with the help of BIOS. So that reason, second task of BIOS is BIOS chip is used to perform post as well as recognizing physical devices during the boot up of computer. Let's see third role and responsibility of BIOS. BIOS is responsible to locate and load the operating system. During the boot up of computer, BIOS chip is responsible to identify the operating system. Once OS is identified, the identified operating system will be going to store temporarily on computer RAM. Basically, computer OS will be going to stored in system partition or boot partition known as a C drive. Computer operating system will be going to stored in C drive. During the boot up or startup of computer OS will be going to recognize from C drive of particular hard disk drive. Once it is identified, the identified operating system will be going to load it on dynamic RAM on temporary basis. This task will be done by BIOS chip. BIOS is responsible to locating and loading the operating system on RAM during the boot up of computer. This is third task. Let's see fourth role and responsibility of BIOS chip. BIOS is responsible to transfer controlling power to the operating system to access hardware devices. Fourth role and responsibility of BIOS chip is to, during the boot up of computer, BIOS will be going to transfer controlling power to the OS, computer OS, to access physical devices such as keyboard and mouse. In this session, you can able to identify one thing. As a user, I am using keyboard and mouse to access computer OS. As a user, I am assuming one thing. The thing is, with the help of keyboard and mouse, I am accessing computer OS. That is utterly wrong. Whenever user will be going to think with the help of keyboard and mouse, I am accessing computer OS is utterly wrong. What actually happening in this process? Computer OS will be going to access keyboard and mouse. Who will be going to transfer controlling power to the computer OS? BIOS chip. BIOS chip is responsible to transfer controlling power to the computer OS to access keyboard and mouse. These are the different roles and responsibilities of BIOS chip. BIOS is a circuit, one of the circuit which is categorized under ROM. Okay, ROM is a integrated circuits. ROM is a integration of many circuits which are used to store computer boot up or startup instructions and critical information, known as BIOS. Okay, in current generation computers, we are using EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. Okay, I can able to say different words regarding BIOS. Here we discussed BIOS chip roles and responsibilities. This is known as a computer booting process. Computer booting process. What was that computer booting process? Whenever user from computer try to restart, that is nothing but power on. Step 1 is we need to power on. Step 2 is BIOS from computer will be going to perform post. Power on self test, whether the power is supplying properly to the number of connected physical devices or not, called as a post. Coming to step 2, step 2 is nothing but recognizing boot device. Boot device is nothing but hard disk drive. C drive of particular HDD on computer is generally called as a recognizing hardware device or as boot device. Step 4, computer OS will be going to load it and performs BSL, bootstrap loader, with drivers pack. This is step 4. Under computer booting process, step 5 is BIOS will be going to transfer controlling power to the OS to access hardware devices. These steps are generally called as a computer booting process. Step 1 is power on, step 2 is performing post, step 3 is loading operating system, and step 4 is performing BSL with drivers pack, and step 5 is transferring control power to the OS to access hardware devices. These are the different steps of computer booting process. This is BIOS. On the screen you can able to see one example, that is BIOS chip. It depends on computer motherboard. You can able to see the different type of BIOS chips. As per today's session, we have to talk about third component of computer is motherboard. Up to now we discussed different components of computer. Number 1 is processor, number 2 is primary storage devices. Third important component of computer is motherboard. What is this motherboard? Motherboard is generally called as a circuit board. Motherboard is a system board. Let's see the motherboard. It is a main circuit board of a computer. Motherboard is third component of computer. It is a main circuit board of computer. Number of circuits will be going to located on one plain board. That board is called as a motherboard. We don't have any particular limitations to maintain motherboard color as green or yellow or orange. It depends on manufacturer. They will going to maintain different colors. Those colors might be thick green, thick orange, thick black color, or else thick purple color. Different colors are available with motherboards. What is the role and responsibility of motherboard? What is the main purpose to using motherboard on computer? It controls physical devices and components that are connected directly or indirectly. How many devices will be going to connected to the computer motherboard? CPU, RAM, hard disk drive, different devices and physical components. will be going to connect it to motherboard directly or indirectly. Let's see some components or physical devices which are connected directly or indirectly to the computer motherboard. Number 1, CPU. CPU is directly connected to the motherboard. Without using any cable, central processing unit such as processor chip will be going to connect it to the motherboard directly. Second component of motherboard is RAM. RAM is directly connected to the motherboard. Without using cables, it will be going to directly install on computer motherboard. Third component is hard disk drive. Hard disk drive is indirectly connected to the motherboard with the help of cable. In coming slides, we will going to discuss different type of hard disk drives with different cables to connect computer motherboard. Next component is expansion cards. What was that expansion cards? We will discuss in coming slides, or connected to it. CPU is directly connected to the computer motherboard. RAM is directly installed on computer motherboard. Hard disk drive is indirectly connected to the computer motherboard, and expansion cards are directly connected to the computer motherboard. Okay, Cmos battery also directly connected to the computer motherboard. Keyboard will be going to indirectly connected to the motherboard. Mouse will be going to indirectly connected to the motherboard. Motherboard comes in a different form factors. What is the general meaning of form factor? Form factor defines shape or layout or design or structure, is generally called as a form factor. Different type of motherboards available with different form factors is nothing but different shapes or layouts. Those form factors are MBTX, MATX, standard ATX, mini ATX, mini ITX. Different type of motherboard form factors are available. Form factor is nothing but shape or layout or design of motherboard, is called as a motherboard form factors. Motherboard comes in a different form factors. Let's see one type of motherboard on the screen. Here you can able to see one motherboard form factor. That form factor name is MBTX. MBTX stands for Micro Balance Technology Extender. It is a one type of motherboard form factor. Motherboard form factor will be going to define location of mounting holes. Here in the screen you can able to see the location of mounting holes. I would like to highlight that mounting holes. Just wait a second. Just wait a minute. I would like to highlight the mounting points, location on computer motherboard. In this screen you can able to see the motherboard. In this motherboard you can able to see the mount points. Here in this is called as a mount point. In order to fix this motherboard, we need to use the screws. We need to fix this motherboard back panel of CPU box with the help of this holes. So that reason this holes is generally called as a mounting holes. Motherboard form factor is nothing but location of mounting holes, dimensions of RAM slots. Here in the screen, in this motherboard form factor, this is called as a yellow color slots, or generally called as a RAM slots, dynamic RAM slots. We need to fix or install physical component. That component is dynamic RAM on this yellow color slot. The dimension of this RAM slot is what landscape, right? And here you can able to see the expansion slots. These expansion slots are generally used to expand adapter cards. And location of SATA interfaces, location of chipset is generally called as a motherboard form factor. Motherboard form factor will be going to define location of mounting holes, dimensions of RAM and expansion slots, location of chipset is nothing but north bridge and south bridge, and location of processor. This information is generally called as a motherboard form factor. What you understood? Motherboard form factor defines structure or shape or layout of motherboard. Here in the screen you can able to see the MBTX motherboard. In this MBTX motherboard is commonly used in desktops. Okay, in this desktop motherboard you can able to identify only one processor, that is this one. Here in this location, processor How many RAM slots are there? 2 slots are there, RAM slots. Generally these 2 type RAM slots are called as a DIMM, dual inline memory modules RAM slots. DIMM RAM slots, 2 slots. The combination of 2 dynamic RAM slots are generally called as a DIMM RAM slots. In the normal desktop motherboard, you can able to see number of processors are only 1. Number of dynamic RAMs are only 2. Just compare normal computer motherboard with server motherboard. In this session, my intention is to differentiating normal computer hardware platform with server hardware platform. So that reason, just look at focus on one more type of motherboard. The type of processor motherboard is generally used in servers. This is server motherboard. Earlier, we verified desktop motherboard, the motherboard which contains only 1 processor, 2 dynamic RAM slots. But coming to server motherboard, here you can able to identify number of processors. Number of processors will be going to hosted on server motherboard. How many processors are there? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. The server motherboard is specially designed to host maximum number of processors. Those processors are 4 processors. Here in this location you can able to identify dynamic RAMs. Dynamic RAM slots are there. Many dynamic RAM slots are presented in the server motherboard. Total number of dynamic RAM slots are approximately 32. Just previous slide we discussed desktop motherboard. Over there, how many dynamic RAM slots are there? Only 2. But coming to here on the screen, server motherboard, you can able to see more number of dynamic RAM slots, 32. So that reason, one of the noticeable difference between computer and server is configuration. Servers are generally called as a high-end configuration computers. Configuration in terms of number of processors, configuration in terms of dynamic RAM slots, configuration in terms of FSB speed, configuration in terms of many physical hard disk drives with a huge amount of storage capacity. In normal computers, we can able to connect 1 or 2 hard disk drives, but coming to server hardware platform is specially designed to connect 2 or more number of physical hard disk drives. So that reason, you can able to expect huge amount of configuration from servers. Configuration in terms of RAM, such as 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 3 or maximum 4 GB, 4 terabytes. Number of processors from server hardware platform is more than 2. Storage capacity from many hard disk drives are available on server's hardware platform. This is the main difference between computer and server motherboard. On the screen, you can able to identify one more type of motherboard. That motherboard is specially designed to host 2 processors only, and around 8 or 12 RAM slots are there. This is one more type of server motherboard. Let's see the components of motherboard. In third component of computer is motherboard. Under that motherboard, you can able to see the different subcomponents of motherboard. Let's see what are those components of motherboard. Look at screen, everybody. First component is processor, slot type and socket type. What is this component? The computer motherboard specially designed to host processor. The processor type is slot or socket type. What is the slot and socket type? Currently we are not using slot type processors. How we are fixing dynamic RAMs on designated slots on motherboard, computer motherboard? In the same way, we need to install processor on designated processor slot of particular computer motherboard. Currently we are not using slot type processors. We were used slot type processors. Those processor types are Pentium 1 and Pentium 2. Some of the models are available. Those models are slot type processors from Pentium 3. From Pentium 3 or Pentium 4 onwards, we are using one special type of processor on computer motherboard. That processor is socket type. Pentium 3 onwards, all type of processors are socket type processors. Okay. And the socket type processors, there are 2 types of processors, pin grid array and land grid array. Processors are generally two types. Number one, slot type. How we are installing dynamic RAM on designated slot of RAM on computer motherboard. The same way we have to install processor on designated slot of computer motherboard. The processor type is called as a slot type processors. Those are best example to understand slot type processors are Pentium 1 and Pentium 2. Currently, latest type of computers we are not using slot type processors. We are using either pin grid array processors or as land grid array processors. Those are generally called as a socket type processors. Socket type processors are furtherly categorized into two types. Those are pin grid array PGA. The processor which contains number of pins is called as a PGA. The processor doesn't contains pins is called as a LGA. Land grid array. Pin grid array processors are very delicate. Accidentally, any pin grid array is dropped from some amount of height, one or two more pins will be going to broke. If it is broken, any pin has broken from pin grid array processors, we can't use that processor normally. So that reason it is delicate processor. So that reason most of the latest type of laptops and desktops you can able to identify type of processor. The processor is land grid array. i3, i5, i7 processors are land grid array processors. The processor which doesn't contains any pin is called as a land grid array. Motherboard itself it contains pins is called as a land grid array processors. Processors are two types, slot type, socket type. Socket type is furtherly categorized into two types, PGA, LGA, land grid array processors. This is first component of motherboard. Second component of motherboard is memory slots. Memory slots is nothing but RAM slots. Earlier we discussed RAM slots, yellow color slots. Those slots are generally called as a memory slots, dynamic RAM slots. Third component of motherboard is expansion slots. If you want to see the expansion slots location, just go through with slide. In this screen you can able to see expansion slots location. This is processor location, whether it is pin grid array or land grid array. I can able to say the type of processor which can be installed in this motherboard is only socket type. This is not a slot type. It is the latest type processor, that is socket type processor, especially under that pin grid array processor it is. Here the RAM slots location it is yellow color slots. Third component of motherboard is expansion slots. Here you can able to see the white color slots and blue color slot. This white color slot is generally called as a PCI, peripheral component interconnect. Blue color slot is generally called as a PCI Express, peripheral component interconnect express. This expansion slots or else reserve slots are used to extend video adapter, or else in order to extend graphic processor we have to use this expansion slots, or else this PCI or PCI Express slot are used to maintain two or more number of network interfaces. What was that network interfaces? Those are generally called as a Ethernet cards or LAN cards. How to check it out? How to check this computer LAN card or Ethernet card? I would like to check my computer number of available Ethernet cards. Just go to control panel. In the control panel here you can able to identify network kind, internet. Click on network kind, internet. After that you can able to see one more option called as a network kind sharing. Click on network kind sharing. Over there you can able to see the one option called as a change adapter settings. Click on change adapter settings. Here you can able to see the LAN card or Ethernet card. Something is went wrong in my computer, so that reason here it is not showing any Ethernet card or LAN card. I need to uninstall existed network adapter and restart this computer. That time I can able to get the Ethernet card over here. That Ethernet card is generally used to assign IP address to the computer. In the computer screen, you can able to see the PCI or PCI Express. These slots are generally used to maintain 2 or more number of Ethernet cards on computer. By default, Ethernet card location is this one. Can you able to see the screen? On the slide, on this motherboard slide, you can able to see the one component location. That location is Rj45 location. This is called as a LAN card location. This is default LAN card or Ethernet card location. In order to maintain 2 or more number of Ethernet cards or LAN cards in your computer, you need to purchase one physical device. The device is called as a NIC card. If the NIC card is PCI or PCI Express type, you have to use these slots. Those slots are called as a expansion or reserve slots. Moreover, these expansion reserve slots are used to extend graphic card in your computer. Next component of motherboard. Fourth component of motherboard is input output ports. In the next slide, we have to discuss input output ports of computer. Okay, let's see one more component of computer motherboard, that is called as a chipset. There are two types of chipsets are there. Number one, north bridge. Number two, south bridge. In the next slides, we have to discuss input output ports and chipsets. IDE or SATA connectors. What is the location of input output ports, chipsets and IDE or SATA connectors on motherboard? Let's see. Wait a minute, I would like to open motherboard. In this motherboard, you can able to see the locations of input output ports. On the top of this motherboard, here you can able to see the input output ports. Input output ports are generally called as a VGA ports, or as DVI interface, or else Rj45 interface, that is nothing but Ethernet card location, or else USB ports, PS/2 ports. These are generally called as a input output ports. The location of input output ports on motherboard is top location. Next component is chipset. There are two types of chipsets can be used in computer motherboard. Number one type of chipset is north bridge. Here you can able to see the gigabyte name chip. That chip is generally called as a north bridge. How to identify whether it is north bridge or south bridge? The chip which is located near to the processor is called as a north bridge. This north bridge is responsible to manage and control high-speed devices such as processor and RAM. Computer processor and RAM will be going to managed and controlled by north bridge. That is first chipset of computer motherboard is north bridge. Always north bridge will be going to located near to the processor. Okay. One more chipset on motherboard is south bridge. Look at screen everybody. This is south bridge. The chip which is located near to the RAM slots or expansion slots is called as a south bridge. The south bridge is generally used to manage and control input output devices. If I would like to connect keyboard and mouse, those keyboard and mouse or printer or scanner with the help of input output ports, those devices will be managed and controlled by south bridge. Moreover, south bridge is responsible to manage and control expansion or reserve slots. Coming to this first chip is north bridge. North bridge is responsible to maintain graphic processor. Graphic processor location is north bridge. That is first chipset. So that reason this north bridge is generally called as a GMCH, graphic memory control hub. One more chipset is south bridge. South bridge is generally called as a IOCH, input output control hub. The south bridge is responsible to manage and control input output devices or expansion slots. So that reason it is called as a IOCH, input output control hub. These are the two chipsets which can be used in computer motherboard. One more component of motherboard is SATA or IDE connectors. On the screen you can able to see yellow color interfaces. This interface is, I am highlighting that interface on the screen. Look at screen everybody. Yellow color interfaces are there. These are generally called as a SATA connectors. The SATA connectors are used to connect hard disk drive. One type of hard disk drive, the type of hard disk drive is SATA hard disk drive. If you are using old type hard disk drive in your computer motherboard, that old type of hard disk drive is IDE hard disk drive. To connect that IDE hard disk drive to the computer, we have to use one more interface, one more connector on computer motherboard. The connector location is, look at screen everybody, this is white color interface. The number of pins from this interface is 20R 24 pin connector. This is 20R 24 pin connector is generally used to connect SMPS to the motherboard. Above the this 20R 24 pin connector, you can able to see the red color interface. This interface is generally called as a red color interface is generally called as a IDE connector. In order to connect IDE type hard disk drive to the computer motherboard, we have to use IDE connector. This is SATA connectors, this is IDE connectors. These are the different components of motherboard. Up to now we discussed IDE. Next component of motherboard is Cmos battery. Another component of motherboard is power supply connector. One more is heatsinks. Last one is front panel connectors. Let's see the last four components of motherboard. Number 1 is Cmos battery. Number 2 is power supply connectors, heatsinks and front panel connectors. Just go through with the motherboard. On the motherboard, next component is Cmos battery. On the screen, everybody look at screen. On the screen, you can able to see the Cmos battery location. That is stainless steel battery it is. Right. Here, this is the location of Cmos, complementary metal oxide semiconductor device. This component is generally used to store and update system date and time. For example, if I shut down my computer, the shutdown time of this computer is 10:30 AM. Whenever computer is shut down, in the background, computer date and time will be going to updated with the help of the Cmos battery. The Cmos battery is nothing but complementary metal oxide semiconductor device. The device is Cmos battery. Moreover, the Cmos battery is used to store computer running configuration. For example, the Cmos battery is drained or dead. What will happen? Just try to restart your computer with the drained Cmos battery. Definitely you will going to get one error message during the boot up of computer. That error message is computer NVRAM configuration is missing. To reset computer NVRAM configuration, please press F1. The error is nothing but Cmos battery. Whenever you try to restart your computer several times, every time you have to press F1 to reset your computer configuration. Moreover, if Cmos battery is drained, your computer date and time will not updated, and you have to reset your computer configuration every time during the boot up of computer. That is the problem of Cmos. It is a battery, the battery which provides power to the chip. Chip is Cmos chip is called as a Cmos battery. Cmos battery is a battery which provides power to the Cmos chip is called as a Cmos battery. What is the location of Cmos chip? Always Cmos chip will be going to integrated with South bridge. On the screen you can able to see the South bridge. Cmos chip will be going to integrated with South bridge on latest type of computers. Next component is power connector, power supply connector. In order to run this motherboard needed some power. That power will be distributed by SMPS. One more component of computer is SMPS. The SMPS is responsible to distribute required amount of power to the different components in the computer. SMPS is responsible to distribute amount of power to the motherboard. SMPS, one of the main cable 20R 24 pin connector will be connected to motherboard in this location. Okay. Next component of motherboard is heatsinks. On the screen, on the slide, you can able to see the processor location. On the processor location, generally this processor will be going to cover with one aluminum metal panel. That metal panel is heatsink. Processor will be going to distribute huge amount of temperature while processing given input instruction. We need to reduce that processor temperature. Processor temperature is not reduced with one more component. What will happen? Computer will be going to unexpectedly shut down, or else computer will be going to restart automatically again and again. What is the problem? Heat sinks are not working, or else processor cool paste is became a drain. Okay, so that reason processor will be going to cover with heat sink. As per today's session, we discussed different components of motherboard, power supply connectors, heat sinks and front panel connectors. From tomorrow's session, we will going to discuss last component, front panel connectors and IO ports. I hope you guys are understood this session. I hope you guys are understood very well this session. See you tomorrow. Thank you for watching the session. Have a great day. Bye. See you. Hi everyone, welcome to Google IT Professional Certificate course. In this session we will going to discuss Introduction to the Computer Hardware Part 4. As per previous session, we discussed about computer and basic hardware components. Under that components, first component is processor, second component is primary storage devices, third component is motherboard. The motherboard, what is motherboard? Motherboard is a main circuit board which is used to connect physical devices and hardware components. Some of the components and physical devices will be going to directly or indirectly connected to the motherboard. Those directly or indirectly connected physical devices and components will be managed and controlled by motherboard. Motherboard is a main circuit board. Motherboards are available with different form factors. Those form factors such as MATX, MBTX, Mini ATX, Standard ATX. Yesterday, we verified difference between normal computer motherboard and server motherboard. Normal computer motherboard is specially designed to host single processor and it contains 2 RAM slots. Coming to server motherboard is designed to host 2 or more number of processors and 2 or more number of RAM slots. So that reason, noticeable difference between computer and server motherboard is it contains many processors. Servers are high-end configuration computers. As per today's session, we have to discuss components of motherboard. Yesterday we discussed some components from motherboard. Under that, first component is processor, slot or socket type. Second component of motherboard is memory slots. Third one is expansion slots. Fourth component of motherboard is input output ports. As per today's session, we have to discuss input output ports. And fifth component of motherboard is chipset, that is nothing but south bridge and north bridge. And another component of motherboard is IDE or SATA connectors, which is used to connect hard disk drives to the motherboard. Cmos battery, another component of motherboard. Next component of motherboard is power supply connector. In order to run motherboard need power. The power will be distributed by SMPS. One of the main cable from SMPS will be connected to the motherboard. Another component of motherboard is heatsink. Processor on motherboard will be going to cover with aluminum metal panel. That panel is generally called as a heatsink, which is used to reduce the temperature from processor. Last component of motherboard is front panel connectors. Front panel connectors is nothing but power on button or else restart button or else front side USB connectors. These are generally called as a front panel connectors. This is yesterday's session. As per today's session, we have to discuss input output ports and expansion slots. Everybody look at screen. You can able to see the expansion or reserve slots. Expansion or reserve slots is one of the component of motherboard which is used to extend graphic processor on computer or else graphic card on processor. There are two types of expansion or reserve slots are there. Number one, PCI Express, and another one is PCI. PCI stands for Peripheral Component Interconnect. One more type of expansion slot is PCI Express, Peripheral Component Interconnect Express. PCI Express slot size is very small compared with PCI. These two slots are generally used to extend computer video adapter. On the screen you can able to identify two types of slots. These white color slots are generally called as a PCI Express, PCI cards, and blue color slot is generally called as a PCI Express. These are the expansion and reserve slots, one of the component of motherboard. Let's go through with one more component of the motherboard, that is input output ports. In computer motherboard, in normal computer motherboard, it contains n number of input output ports. Under that first component is USB 2.0. Just give me 1 minute. I need to make some modifications in this computer to highlight the component. Thank you for your great patience. Look at screen. Here on the screen you can able to identify one port, one interface of motherboard, that is input output port USB 2.0. USB stands for Universal Serial Bus. One more port is there, USB 2.0. Under USB 2.0 you can able to identify violet and blue color combination port. It is 6-pin DE connector. That DE connector is generally called as a PS by 2. This PS by 2 connector is generally used to connect old type keyboard and mouses. One more interface, one more input output port from motherboard is VGA. VGA stands for Video Graphic Array. It is 15 DE connector which is used to connect computer monitor. One more interface is available on computer motherboard, that is input output port. That port is DVI. DVI stands for Digital Visual Interface. This DVI port is generally used to connect video sources such as projectors or else some other video sources. On the screen you can able to identify one more input output port. That port is optical S by P. Optical S by P, DIF stands for Optical Sony by Philips Digital Interconnect Format. This port is generally used to connect special type audio devices to the computer. One more interface from computer motherboard is HDMI. HDMI stands for High Definition Multimedia Interface. It is used to connect computer monitor, projector or else smart TVs or else digital TVs. One more port or input output interface from computer motherboard is display port. This display port is generally used to connect special type of video sources. This is becoming outdated. On the screen you can able to see the USB 2.0 two ports are there. Under that USB 2.0 ports you can able to see one more type of port. That port is 1394A. A stands for Apple. This 1394A interface is used to transfer data. It will be going to act as a serial interface. Apple has invented this interface in 1990s. Currently it has become outdated. One more port is eSATA. This interface is generally used to external hard disk drives. One of the important port, input output port of computer motherboard is Rj45. On the screen you can able to see the Rj45 interface. This interface is generally used to connect computer to the network. Network might be private or public network. Private is nothing but within the LAN. In order to connect your computer to the existed LAN, we need to use this interface. That interface is called as a Rj45. Or else to provide internet access to the computers, we have to use this interface. That interface is Rj45 with wired connection, that is nothing but guided media. One more interface is USB 3.0. On the screen you can able to see the USB 2.0 ports and USB 3.0 ports. What is the main difference between USB 2.0 ports and USB 3.0? The main difference between USB 2.0 and 3.0 is data transmission speed. If you have USB 3.0 pen drive, just connect to your laptop or desktop. Especially you need to connect USB 3.0 pen drive to the USB 3.0 port on your computer. That time you can able to experience with the data transmission speed. That is the main difference between USB 2.0 and 3.0. On input output ports, here you can able to see the audio jack and some other interfaces. These are generally used to connect mic or audio interfaces. These are input output ports of computer. On the screen you can able to see the chipsets. There are two types of chipsets are there. Number one is North Bridge, number two is South Bridge. Earlier we discussed one of the important component of motherboard is chipset. There are two types of chipsets are available on computer motherboard, in server as well as normal computer. In normal computer motherboard you can able to see the two chipset that is called as a North Bridge. Another one is South Bridge. North Bridge is always located near to the processor. It is responsible to control or manage high speed devices like processor or RAM. This North Bridge is generally called as a graphic memory control hub. Why? Because this North Bridge chipset which contains graphic processor. So that reason it is addressed with GMCH, graphic memory control hub. One more chip is South Bridge. South Bridge always located near to the expansion or RAM slots. The main purpose to using South Bridge on computer motherboard is to manage and control low speed devices such as input output devices or else expansion or reserve slots. For example, if I connected USB pen drive to my computer, that connected USB pen drive will be going to managed and controlled by South Bridge. So that reason the South Bridge is called as a input output control hub, IO piece. On the screen you can able to identify North Bridge. It controls the processor and RAM, high speed devices. It placed near to the processor. It also contains graphic processor. So that reason it is called as a graphic memory control hub, GMCH. One more chipset on motherboard, South Bridge. It controls low speed devices like input output ports devices and slots, expansion or reserve slots. It placed near to the slots, which slots, expansion or RAM slots. It is also called as a IOCH, input output control hub. These are the two types of chipsets which are available on computer motherboard. One more component of motherboard is Cmos battery. Cmos stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor device. It is a battery which is used to provide power to the Cmos chip to store and update computer data in time, and also it will be going to update the computer running configuration. In your computer, Cmos battery is drained. If Cmos battery is drained in your computer, what will happen? The result in, if you try to restart your computer with drained Cmos battery, computer boot up process will be going to stuck in one page. That page is the second screen. In the second screen it will be going to show the error message such as computer NVRAM settings are missing. To reset configuration, please press F1. When you try to restart your computer several times, the times you have to press every time F1, F1, F1. That error is nothing but drained Cmos battery. Moreover, Cmos battery is drained or dead, your computer configuration and system data and time will not update it. Every time you need to reset the system data and time as well as configuration. So that reason you have to replace the Cmos battery with new one. Let's see Cmos. Look at screen. Cmos stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor RAM. It is a RAM. Is used to store the date and time and system configuration. Cmos RAM or Cmos chip. In this slide we have to discuss Cmos battery. The battery which powers this memory is called as a Cmos battery. As per previous session we discussed, Cmos chip always integrated with the South Bridge of computer motherboard. The battery which is used to provide power to the Cmos chip is called as a Cmos battery. Okay, battery is different, chip is different. Look at screen. On the screen you can able to see the one more component. The component is SMPS. Up to now we discussed different components of computer. First component of computer is processors, second is primary storage devices, third is motherboard, and motherboard components also over. Fourth component is SMPS. SMPS stands for switched mode power supply. One of the physical device, one of the physical component of computer is SMPS. What is the role and responsibility of this SMPS? On the screen you can able to see the one type of SMPS. This type of SMPSs are generally used in desktops, not in laptops. It is desktop SMPS. The role and responsibility of SMPS is to distributing required amount of power to the different components within the computer. Computer will be going to consist many components and physical devices. To run those components and physical devices which are required some amount of power, that power will be distributed by SMPS. SMPS is a physical device which is used to distribute or deliver required amount of power to the different components and physical devices in the computer to run. Here on the screen you can able to see the SMPS cable set. Under that SMPS cable set, one of the main cable set is 20R 24 pin cable set. The main cable 20R 24 pin cable set is generally connected to the computer motherboard in order to distribute some amount of power to the computer motherboard. On the screen you can able to see the two black color cable set, number 1, number 2. This black color cables generally used to connect SATA hard disk drive or else to connect CD or DVD drive ROM. And remaining cable set, power cable set, will be going to connected to the various places of computer motherboard. On the screen you can able to see one more type of SMPS. This type of SMPSs are generally used in servers hardware platform. Desktop SMPS is different, server SMPS is different. In desktops you can able to recognize only one SMPS. Due to power fluctuations, one and only SMPS from desktop is crashed. Computer never going to start normally. But coming to servers hardware platform is specially designed to keep 2 or more number of SMPSs. Unfortunately, primary SMPS is crashed. Secondary SMPS will be going to distribute required amount of power to the different components in the server. That is the main difference between desktop or else normal computer and server. Normal computer hardware platform is specially designed to connect only single SMPS. Server hardware platform is specially designed to maintain 2 or more number of SMPSs. If primary SMPS is crashed due to power fluctuations, secondary SMPS will be going to provide required amount of power to the different components in the server. That is the advantage of server hardware platform. On the screen here you can able to see the SMPS. The SMPS size is very small, but coming to desktop SMPS size is very large. Here one of the troubleshooting step to check the performance of SMPS. Especially to check the performance of SMPS, we have to use U-shaped pin or U-shaped cable. For example, I have a SMPS. Currently I am not using n number of SMPSs, those are presented in storeroom. I would like to connect one of the SMPS to the computer. In order to connect SMPS, first you need to check the performance of SMPS. How to check performance of SMPS, whether SMPS is working properly or not, how to check it out. Especially desktop SMPSs contains SMPS fan, right? Just give the power supply to the SMPS and take the main power cable from SMPS. That is nothing but on the screen here you can able to see the 20 or 24 pin connector which is used to connect motherboard to distribute required amount of power. On SMPS main power cable set, one of the cable set is 20 or 24 pin cable set. In the cable set you can able to identify only one green color cable that is available on lock side. On the lock side, fourth cable is green color. In the total cable set you can able to identify only one green color cable. That cable is available on lock side. Okay, take U-shape cable and connect one of the end to the green cable and connect second end to the outside other side black color cable, any black color. Connect green color cable to other side black color cable. Better to connect other side third black color cable and give the power supply. At the time SMPS fan is rotating, half of the SMPS performance is good. How to check full functionality of SMPS? In order to check full functionality of SMPS, we need to connect the SMPS to the particular desktop and restart your computer. If your computer is restarted normally with the help of replaced SMPS, that time SMPS is working fine. Before replacing SMPS with new one, you can able to check the performance of SMPS by connecting green and black color cable. On lock side green color cable, on other side third black color cable by using U-shaped cable. Okay, and give the power supply and check the SMPS fan is rotating or not. If it is rotating, half of the performance from the SMPS is good. To check the full functionality of SMPS, we need to connect the SMPS to the computer and restart computer. If computer has restarted successfully, that time SMPS is working fine. And one more component of computer is secondary storage devices. On the screen you can able to see the one more component of computer is secondary storage devices. I need some clarification from you. What is the use of secondary storage devices from computer? Already computer is running with primary storage such as RAM or ROM. Why computer will be going to use as secondary storage devices? The main purpose to using secondary storage devices on computer is to store computer OS or else use as personal data. The secondary storage is furtherly classified into different types. That is nothing but secondary storage devices are different types. Number one is magnetic storage devices. Best example to understand magnetic storage devices is hard disk drive, HDD. One more example to understand magnetic storage device is tape drives. Generally, tape drives are used to take a backup of users' personal data in servers. It looks like a cassette, VCR or VCP cassette. Size is very small. Okay, the reel which contains magnetic coating is called as a tape drive. Tape drives are used to take a backup of user personal data in servers only, not in normal computers. In laptops or desktops, commonly you can able to identify secondary storage devices such as HDD, hard disk drives. Let's see one more type of secondary storage device, that is optical storage device. Best example to understand optical storage devices are compact disc, CD. One more is digital versatile disc, that is called as a DVDs. One more optical storage device type is Blu-ray disc, BRD discs, used to play the games or use it to store huge amount of data. The main difference between CD and DVD and BRD is data reading and writing. That is nothing but data accessing and modification is very fast in BRDs and DVDs compared with CDs. Okay, and we can able to store huge amount of data from BRDs or else DVDs. This is second type of storage, secondary storage devices. Third type of secondary storage devices which can be used in computers is flash storage devices. Flash storage devices or pen drives. Pen drives is nothing but flash storage, USB pen drives. And one more is memory card. Memory card is nothing but SD cards. Commonly in our phones, to extend internal memory, we will going to use one special type of chip. That chip is SD card or else memory chip card, that is called as a memory card or SD cards. Pen drive, memory, SD cards, SSD. SSD is nothing but it is a type of hard disk drive, but it will be going to maintain storage type is flash storage. Solid state drive, SSHD, solid state hybrid drive. Just try to verify brand new laptops or desktop from Dell or HP or some other companies. Most of the PC manufacturers are giving priority to use one type of hard disk drive. That hard disk drive is SSD or SSHD. SSD and SSHD hard disk drive storage capacity type is flash storage, which doesn't contain any magnetic disk. But coming to normal hard disk drive, HDDs, those hard disk drives such as IDE hard disk drives, SATA hard disk drives, SCSI, SAS, this type of hard disk drives contains magnetic disk. The disk will be going to rotate itself. The measurement of the number of spinnings of magnetic disk is generally called as a RPM speed, revolution per minute. The data reading and writing such as data accessing and modification is depends on number of spinnings or rotations of magnetic disk on HDD. That will be going to measures with RPM speed, revolution per minute. But one special type of hard disk drive, that is SSD or SSHD, which doesn't contains any magnetic disk. It is latest type of secondary storage device, which is SSD. SSD hard disk performance is very fast. To improve your computer performance, you have to extend RAM memory, and one more process is you need to replace the old type of hard disk drive with SSD or SSHD. What you understood, computer performance will be going to depends on RAM memory, processor speed, as well as type of hard disk drives. If your laptop is running with the latest type of hard disk drive such as SSD or SSHD, that computer performance is robust, and moreover data processing speed also very fast. On the screen you can able to identify two types of secondary storage devices. The main purpose to using secondary storage devices on computer is to store computer OS or to store users personal data. Look at screen. On the screen you can able to see tracks and sectors. For example, in my computer I am using HDD. HDD type is SATA hard disk drive. It is a one type of hard disk drive. It contains magnetic disk. That magnetic disk is used to store user personal data or computer OS. How data will be going to stored in magnetic disk of HDD? Normal form of data will be going to stored in the form of tracks. On the screen you can able to see the circles which is highlighted with blue color. Normal form of data will be going to stored on magnetic disk in the form of tracks. Those tracks are used to create sectors. Why we need to create sectors? Sectors are generally used to form clusters. Why we need to create clusters? To form a cluster, first we need to create a sector. To create a sector, we must store our personal data in the form of tracks. My doubt is why we need to store the user personal data in the form of tracks and sectors and clusters. But the main purpose to storing data in the form of tracks and sectors or cluster is to duplicating data or else data redundancy purpose. Data redundancy is nothing but duplicating data or OS from particular computer HDD into one place to another place. User personal data will be going to duplicate it from one drive to another drive, one volume to another volume automatically with the help of clusters. Especially in Windows 10 operating system, you can able to create a sectors and clusters for the purpose of data redundancy, duplicating data. In servers generally, one hard disk drive data or OS will be redundanted in another disk. Why? Because server hardware platform is specially designed to connect two or more number of hard disk drives. Primary hard disk drive of server data or OS will be redundanted in secondary hard disk drive. Unfortunately, primary hard disk drive is crashed. You can able to boot your server from secondary hard disk drive without losing single MB data. That is the importance of data redundancy, which will be done by creating or forming clusters. In the same way, in normal computers, especially in Windows 10 OSs, you can able to create sectors and clusters to redundant your data. On the screen, you can able to see one type of hard disk drive, HDD, one type of hard disk drive that is called as a SATA. Right. The SATA type hard disk drives is second generation hard disk drive. First generation hard disk drives is IDE. Some of the users still they are using SATA hard disk drives in their computers. Data reading and writing is slow. In the SATA hard disk drive, you can able to identify 2 or 3 interfaces. First interface is power. To distribute required amount of power to the computer hard disk drive, we need to connect one of the cable set, one of the cable of SMPS to hard disk drive in this location. Second interface of hard disk drive is SATA connector. To connect or else to read or to access data from hard disk drive by computer, we need to connect this hard disk drive to computer motherboard by using second interface, that is called as a SATA interface. To connect hard disk drive to the computer motherboard, we have to use second interface, which is called as a SATA interface. Another one, third interface is jumpers. Jumpers are generally used to change the configuration of particular component in the computer. In latest type of computers or computers or laptops or desktops or servers, you can't verify jumpers on hard disk drives or some other devices. It's outdated. And here on the screen you can able to see the cable. This type of cable is generally used to connect hard disk drive to the computer motherboard. So that reason this cable is called as a SATA cable. SATA hard disk will be going to connect it to the computer motherboard with the help of SATA cable. On the screen you can able to see the one more type of hard disk drive, SCSI, SCSI, small computer system interface. This type of SCSI hard disk drives are generally used in servers hardware platform. The size of the SCSI hard disk is small and thin compared with SATA hard disk drive. SATA hard disk drive size and width is very large, but SCSI hard disk drive size is very small and moreover it is thin. This SCSI hard disk drives are used to maintain huge amount of storage capacity, and moreover data reading and writing, that is nothing but accessing and modification from data from SCSI hard disk is very fast compared with SATA hard disk drive. This is SCSI hard disk drive, third generation, third type of hard disk drives. SCSI hard disk will be going to connect it to the server motherboard with the help of SCSI connectors. This is cable. Here on the screen you can able to see ribbon interface. This interface is generally used to connect SCSI hard disk drive to the server motherboard. Instead of using cable, you can able to use this ribbon interface. On the screen you can able to see hard disk drive has kept it in U-shaped tray. This U-shaped tray is generally called as a caddy tray. One physical hard disk drive has kept in U-shaped tray. This U-shaped tray is generally called as a caddy tray. Why we are discussing this caddy tray? Let's see. One more type of caddy tray. On the screen you can able to see the caddy tray. This type of caddy trays are generally used in rack servers. Rack servers specially designed to connect two or more number of physical disks. Those two or more number of physical disks will be connected to the server with the help of caddy trays. How we are inserting VCP or VCP cassette in VCP or VCR player? By ejecting and inserting. In the same way, in order to connect two or more number of physical hard disk drives to the particular server, first we need to eject the caddy tray. Once caddy tray has ejected and kept the compatible or suitable hard disk drive into the server caddy tray and inserted, that particular inserted physical hard disk drive storage capacity will be retrieved or accessed by server. This is caddy tray. I am going to show you one server. On the screen you can able to see one server. On right side you can able to see the server. The server contains how many caddy trays? Approximately 3, 3, 3 and 3. 12 caddy trays are there. This rack server is specially designed to insert or connect 12 physical hard disk drives with the help of 12 different physical caddy trays. On left side you can able to see the maximized picture for caddy tray. On right side picture, this picture is rack server specially designed to connect how many physical hard disk drives? 12 hard disk drives. Means this in this server as an administrator, as a user, I can able to connect two or more number of physical hard disk drives at a time. All 12 physical hard disk drive storage capacity will be accessed by server. As per previous sessions and today's session, what you understood? What is the main difference between normal computer and server configuration? Normal computer hardware platform is designed to host single processor with restricted speed, and moreover normal computer hardware platform is designed to install only 2 dynamic RAMs on 2 dynamic RAM slots. Normal computer hardware platform is designed to connect 1 or 2 physical hard disk drives. But what about server? Server hardware platform is specially designed to maintain or host 2 or more number of processors, and we can able to install 2 or many dynamic RAMs, and we can able to connect 2 or more number of physical hard disk drives. So that reason server configuration is high end. Noticeable difference between normal computer and server is configuration. Servers are high end configuration computers. Okay. In this session you guys are understood, right? I would like to show one more thing. In the first session, introduction to the computer hardware part 1, I gave little bit information about computer configuration, and here I am using one computer. I would like to check computer configuration. How to check my computer configuration? How to check my server configuration? There are different ways to check your computer or server configuration. First way to check your computer configuration is go to Start, open Control Panel and search Type Icons. Type Icons. Under personalization, here you can able to see one option called as a show all common icons on the desktop. Click this one. Arrange all common icons on the desktop. I arranged some common icons on the desktop. Under that, one of the main important common icon on desktop, that is my computer. What was that? My computer. Select and right click my computer icon. Click on Properties. In the properties list, here you can able to see installed OS is Windows 7, Windows 7 Ultimate Edition, and installed OS type is 64-bit OS. Basically, my computer processor architecture is 64-bit processor architecture. So that reason I installed Windows 7 Ultimate Edition 64-bit operating system. Windows 7 operating system is available with different editions. Depends on your requirement. You have to choose or select particular OS with edition. Windows 7 editions are Windows 7 Starter, Home, Home Premium, Professional, Ultimate and Enterprise. These are the 6 editions or flavors from Windows 7 operating system, which can be used for personal or business purposes. This is one way. This way is not effective way. This way is not effective way to check the computer configuration. In this computer configuration, you just verified only installed OS, right? Right. If you are using licensed version antivirus in your computer, in the computer properties list, you can able to check install amount of dynamic RAM and processor, processor type and processor speed in first way. How to check full-fledged configuration of computer? By using another way. Another way is just open run Windows or on the run type CMD. Click on enter. And the command prompts type system info. System info. Click on enter. Why it is showing error? System info. The command is correct, but I log in as a guest. I would like to run this command as a administrator. Go to Start, the Start, type CMD, select and right click, command prompt, run as a administrator. Now this time I am using this command prompt as a administrator. In this command prompt, type system info and error logon failure, unknown username or bad password. Why? Because I logged in as a guest user. If you logged in as a administrator, definitely execute this command system info. This command will be going to provide full-fledged configuration of your computer. No need to worry. In second way, we failed to check the configuration. Why? Because I logged in as a guest user in this computer. I would like to show one more way to check the computer configuration. That way is in run type DXDIAG. What was that? DXDIAG, diagnosizing. Click on OK. What it is showing? To check the computer configuration, click on yes. What it is showing? It is showing full-fledged configuration of this computer, but BIOS information is not available, system model is not available. It is not showing full-fledged information, but memory is available, right? Not available. Why it is showing not available? You need to log in as an administrator, main user account. You need to log in as a main user account in this computer. That time you can able to check the full-fledged configuration of system. The system, and second tab is display, and third tab is sound, another one is input. Total information, full-fledged information on computer configuration available by using third way. And fourth way, last way to check your computer configuration is, wait a minute, open run. In the run, type ms info 32.exe. Click on enter. In the system summary, can't collect information, but actually I need to log in as an administrator. If I logged in as an administrator by using this command, if I use to check the computer configuration by using this command msinfo32.exe, this way is effective way to check the computer configuration. It is also not showing. Select a subcategory. It's not showing. You need to log in as a administrator. Select system summary. Here in the screen it will be going to show full-fledged information about computer configuration. The specialty of executing system info command and the specialty of msinfo32.exe is you can able to check your computer processor architecture, that is nothing but system type. If your system type or processor architecture type or capacity is 32-bit or 64-bit or 86, it will be going to show that information in these two ways. How many ways to check computer configuration? Number one way is go to desktop, select and right click my computer icon, click on properties. You can able to check the computer configuration. Second way is open command prompt. In the command prompt, types system info and execute that command. It will be going to provide full information about computer configuration. Third way is open run. On the run command, type DXDIAG. Executing this command, you can able to check the full-fledged configuration of computer. Last way is fourth way. There are many ways to check computer configuration. No need to discuss that many ways. And the fourth way is go to run. In the run, type msinfo32.exe and execute this command. You can able to check the full-fledged configuration of computer. I hope you guys are understood introduction to the computer hardware. In previous session, how many topics we discussed? Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. From past 4 days, we are discussing about computer and computer hardware and basic components of computer and functionalities. I hope you guys are understood this session. I would like to show a little bit more information. How to check computer hard disk drive storage capacity. We need to use one tool. The tool is called as a disk management tool. The disk management tool, either press Windows X or else go to start, especially it is Windows 7 Ultimate, type disk management. Here it is not showing any disk management related, right? Different option is there. By using different options you can able to access disk management, but how to access inbuilt tool of Windows operating system? That tool can be used to manage or control storage capacity of computer HDD. Go to run diskmgmt.msc, disk management.msc. You do not have the access rights to logical disk management on Dell PC. Why? Because I logged in as a guest user. If you logged in as an administrator, open run, and the run you can able to see the write disk management dot msc diskmgmt dot msc. By executing this command on run, you can able to access disk management tool. How to manage and control storage capacity of computer HDD? We have to use built-in tool of Windows operating system. The tool is disk management tool. This disk management tool is built-in tool which is used to manage and control storage capacity of computer HDD. With the help of this disk management tool, you can able to create number of drives or volumes. On the screen you can able to see C drive, D drive, E drive. How you created these drives or volumes on computer HDD with the help of disk management tool. We need to access disk management tool as administrator and create number of drives or volumes. Primary drive of computer is C drive. The C drive is generally called as a system or boot partition. Computer OS will be going to stored in C drive. Okay. And another drives are used to store our personal data. Is generally called as a extended partitions. General meaning of primary partition and extended partition. What is the partition? Disk partitioning. To understand primary and extended partitions, first we need to discuss partitions. Disk partitioning. How I created different drives or volumes in my computer HDD with the help of disk management tool. I accessed as administrator disk management tool and I created volumes or drives. If we created 3 drives, those first 3 drives are generally called as a primary partition. Means in hard disk drive, any type of hard disk drive in computer we can able to create 2 types of partitions. Those are primary partition and extended partition. What is the general meaning of disk partitioning, or else what is the general meaning of partitioning? Disk partitioning is nothing but disk partitioning is the process of dividing available storage capacity of computer HDD into separate areas is called as a disk partitioning. You can able to verify, you can able to create 2 types of partitions on computer HDD. Number 1 is primary partition, number 2 is extended partition. If you created 3 drives or volumes on your computer HDD, first 3 drives or volumes are generally called as a primary partitions. Moreover, first 3 drives in disk management tool will recognize and identify with a particular color, same color. If you try to create one more drive or volume in your computer HDD, 4th drive, that is called as a extended partition. What is the use of primary and extended partitions? Primary partition is generally used to store computer OS. What is the use of extended partition? Extended partitions are used to store user's personal data. Understood? These are the 2 types of partitions, primary partition and extended partition. You can able to perform disk partitioning, create a number of drives with primary and extended partitions. Understood? I hope you guys are understood this session. This session might be helpful for your career and development. Right. Thank you for your great patience to listening my presentation. Thank you for watching this video and this session. Have a great day. See you some other class with different topic. Have a nice day. See you. Bye bye.
Good afternoon, welcome to today's session. This is brought to you by AP State Skill Development Corporation, and we are conducting this program especially for the employability skill centers. There's already a classroom session which has already started in various districts in AP, and we are also combining the blended training methodology which is online. You're watching this live on Mana TV as well as the YouTube channel of Mana TV. Alright, so let's begin. So in the last session we spoke about the consonant sounds, I explain to you sounds in English language since we are speaking about oral communication. I explain how we have 26 letters in English alphabet system. There are 21 consonants and 5 vowels, but we have 24 consonant sounds and 15 vowel sounds. So 26 letters that you see, those are mere letters, but here we are talking about sounds. So we have 24 consonant sounds compared to 21 consonants and 15 vowel sounds compared to 5 vowels. So vowel sounds or consonant sounds are different from a consonant or a vowel. Okay, I explained to you the 24 consonant sounds. I showed you the list as well as the example. I just want to take you through a quick recap to explain this again. So we have p, b, t, d, k, g, ch, j, th, th, s, z, sh, zh, f, v, w, h, r, y, l, m, n, and ng. So that's 24. I showed you examples of the 24 consonant sounds. So we have p sound, for example, pot, topple, top, b sound, bat, bubble, cab, t sound, table, bitter, pot, d sound, desk, advise, loud, k, kite, disclose, mask, goat, that's g sound, goat, magnify, big, ch, chain, discharge, march, j, joint, budget, charge, th, think, breathless, bath, the, this, rhythm, breathe, seal, mistake, miss, zoo, disown, breeze, shallow, location, brush, sound, pleasure, beige, fun, often, tough, victory, level, brave, sound, window, water or swift, hollow, adhere, for example, ring, market, charter, yard, mayor, toy, listen, island, bottle, money, homework, groom, number, hunter, listen, ng or the ing sound, English, ringing, ring. So these are the examples which I showed you. Now the confusion happens between the consonant and the consonant sound. I'm just going to give you certain examples. For example, if you see the letter P, this is actually a p sound. For example, print. Now the letter P signifies p sound, but not always. For example, if I have the word which is photon, now here the letter P needs to be combined with H and it becomes an F, the first sound. For example, if I have the word photograph, again I have first sound. So just because I have the letter P doesn't mean I can pronounce this as per always. Alright. I also gave you example of ch sound. For example, change. But when I have the word chemistry, ch becomes k sound. So I say chemistry, I say chrome, So I do not really, or chromium, I do not say chromium or chrome or chemistry. Okay. Likewise, there are tons of such examples. The sounds that you see here, these are mere sounds, so don't look at it as a letter. For example, sir. Now, I can have a sound which is, or I can have a word where sir is used as a sir sound, s is used as a sir sound. For example, solution. Alright, but if I have a word which is island, I don't pronounce this as Island. So S is silent here. Okay. For example, if I have a word which is pressure, just because I have two S, I can't say press sir. I can't say press sir. So here double S will become sh sound. So I say pressure. Alright. So you need to be very careful how to differentiate between a consonant and consonant sound. Every word that you pronounce will have a consonant sound, not mandatorily. There are certain words, there are no consonant sounds at all. There is just vowel sound. For example, I, first person I. I don't have any consonant sound there, right? So a letter is a consonant, but a sound is a consonant sound, so there is a big difference. So any word that you pronounce, if the consonant sound is not fitting properly, that means you are making a mistake. Now, what are the common mistakes that we end up doing? We do a sound shift. So instead of using a particular consonant sound, we make a mistake and use a different consonant sound. These are the common mistakes or common problems that we face. We do a shift between per and fur, ver and were, sir, z, sir, sh, j, z. So we interchange this. So let me copy this and I will tell you what do I mean by this. I'm going to show you some examples. Okay. All right, let's begin. For example, if I have the word which is print, lot of people pronounce this as frint. So that is where the mistake happens. Okay. There are some people who cannot pronounce the per sound, they replace that with a fur sound. For example, if I have a word which is face, they replace that and say pace. Now face is different, pace is different. Pace means speed, velocity. Face means what you see in a person. So when you make this mistake, it leads to change in meaning as well. Okay. Next, I have the word which is victory. They pronounce this as victory. Now remember what I said. If you have the letter V, you need to bite your lower lip. It's victory. And if it's W, you need to make a O out of your lips. So you say victory. No, it's not victory, it's victory. If I have the word water, then I say water. If I say the word vase, flower vase or flower vase, I say vase. If I use the name William, so I make a O out of my lips, I say William. Winter. So it's winter, it's not winter. Okay. Let's move on. Sir problem. So I have a word which is seal and they replace that with zeal, z sound. For example, if I have the word listen, they pronounce this as listen. It's not listen, it's listen. And the mistake also happens the other way around. For example, z and j is a problem. For example, if I have the word zone, they pronounce this as zone. If I have the word which is page, they pronounce this as page. It's not page, it's page. Such a problem. Now this happens because of regional influence again. For example, send, and they pronounce this, so if you make a mistake, you will end up pronouncing this as shend, shend it. It's not shend, it's send. So these are the common issues that we face in terms of pronunciation. So the best way to learn pronunciation is to pick up words and then break them into words for understanding the pronunciation. I'm going to pronounce the word, and if you're watching this on YouTube or Mana TV, doesn't really matter. I want you to repeat after me. And let's be honest, I can't see you, but I want you to put the effort and pronounce it. Let's start. Tariff, dislocate. Now before I pronounce, let's do this. I'm going to pause here for a minute so that you can make a note of all these words. If you're watching it on YouTube in your system, you can either take a picture or you can take a screenshot. If you're watching it on television, please make a note of it. If you write this down on your notebook, it will be easier for you to remember. All right, let's start. Tariff, dislocate, possibilities, leverage, discrimination, environment. It's not environment. Please stop saying environment. It's environment. The next is government. It's not government. Don't say government. It is government. Plurality, determination, derivatives, apartment, disagreement, dislodge. COUP is coup. It's not coop or coup, it's coup. Isolation, quarantine, gesture. A lot of people pronounce this as gesture. It's not gesture just because the letter G is there. It is gesture. Against. Don't pronounce this as against. It's against. Abbreviation, annihilation. I'm going to repeat the words: tariff, dislocate, possibilities, leverage, discrimination, environment, government, plurality, determination, derivatives, apartment, disagreement, dislodge, coup, isolation, quarantine, gesture, against, abbreviation, annihilation. Some more words for you. Distance, extra. A lot of people mispronounce this word extra. They say ekestra. It's not ekestra. So let me break down some of the words to make it simple, to make you understand how to pronounce it. All right? So this is the word. If I have to break it for your quick understanding, it's extra. It's extra. Now what mistake people do is they pronounce this as ekestra. So this is wrong. It's not ekestra, it's extra. All right? Environment. Environment. So this is the correct pronunciation. Environment. And the mistake that you end up doing is you end up pronouncing environment. meant. Now this is wrong. It's not environment, it is environment. So please make sure you're pronouncing it correctly. Another word, against. Now how do I pronounce this? Against. Now the mistake that you end up doing is you end up pronouncing this as against. It's not against, it's against. Government. How do I pronounce this? It's government. And you pronounce this when you make a mistake as government. So don't say it's government, it's government. Environment, against, extra. Alright, let's go. Training, paper, popular, significance, domain, competency, competition, repetition, loyalty, strange, dominant, vibrancy, chronological, pictorial, confirmation, technology, accrual, gratuity. It's not gratuity, it's gratuity. Alright? So when you have all the consonant sounds in front of you, please write these sounds in Telugu right next to it so that you can understand. So I'm going to repeat these sounds so that you can make a note of it. The first one is per. So you can write it in Telugu so that you can understand. Per, b, t, d, k, g, ch, j, th, the, s, z, sh, zh, f, v, w, h, r, y, l, m, n, ng. Okay? So if you're watching it live, if you felt that I'm too fast, go back to YouTube, replay this video and write it down. And the next slide, you will have the examples. So these are the entire list of consonant sounds. Now what we're going to do is we're going to read a particular passage to make sure that we are understanding it right, and we'll pick certain words from the passage and we'll have a quick reading exercise. So let me look up something which is relevant for all of you. Okay, the internet doesn't seem to be working, so let me look up something from my database here. Alright, here we go. Let's start. Laws of nature are not commands but statements of acts. The use of the word law in this context, it's not context. So don't make a mistake there, it's not context, it's context. The use of the word law in this context is rather unfortunate. It would be better to speak of uniformities in nature. This would do away with the elementary fallacy. What do you mean by this fallacy? Now I can give you the meaning immediately, but I want you to look it up in dictionary.com or a dictionary book. So please put the effort of learning these words, vocabulary, so that you can use these words later. And how it's pronounced? Fallacy. Fallacy. This would do away with the elementary fallacy that a law implies a lawgiver. If a piece of matter does not obey a law of nature, it is punished. On the contrary, we say that the law has been incorrectly stated. Alright? When you have a passage to read, read slow and try to pronounce the word properly so that you understand. Passage number 2, this is reading practice. At this stage of civilization, when many nations are brought into close and vital contacts for good and evil, it is essential. Now you see this word, it's not essential, it's essential. So instead of s sound, we have a z sound here. It is essential as never before that their gross ignorance, it's not gross. When you have this word, so let me quickly show you an important aspect which you need to know. I have a word which is gross. Now this word can be pronounced in two ways. First one, gr o s. I can say gross or I can say gr.